to the podium, and great leader for Progressive.
Thank you. Thank you all for being here. I can't do this without saying something about David Sirota. When I first started my show on Air America, I had to have David on because David had been emailing me. How many here have been emailed by David? How many here have been over-emailed by David? But he would send me great stuff, like he'd find a speech from 1991 or 2 that Cheney had given saying, like, the reason we didn't go into Iraq is that we'd be bogged down in a quagmire there. And I go like, oh, thank you for that. So we put David on our show immediately from the very beginning, and he was there for the full 3 years of the show, and we billed him as a sexy wonk from Washington, and the joke was that being a wonk was sexy, and that David was sexy. But anyway, so and then you know, to the chagrin of our female listeners, he got married and moved out to Montana. And so he got married and had a honeymoon, and then went to Montana. And I said, the first show where you were on in Montana, I said, how is it out there? And now he had been married now maybe about 3 weeks. And he says, this is, okay, not the most brilliant thing for a newly married man to say. I say, how is it out there? And Helena, he says, it's very lonely. I said, you just got married. Oh, yeah. No, that's good, the marriage. Brilliant guy, David Sirota.
I'm going to be divorced.
It's my pleasure to introduce Keith Ellison, who is my congressman. I'm proud that he's my congressman. Keith is, except for Ahmad Rashad, the happiest Muslim I know. Keith is famously the first Muslim to be elected to the Congress, but it was really only a matter of time because, as probably most people don't know, and I guess we're on C-SPAN, so it'll be good for them to know, is that Minnesota is about 70% Muslim. So it was really just a matter of time. I have here a letter to Keith congratulating you on this occasion. It comes from your colleague, Congressman Virgil Goode. Dear Congressman Ellison, congratulations on being the first Muslim honored by the Progressive States Network. I hope you are the last. My worry is that the Progressive States Network will be infiltrated with Muslims and that they will pursue their radical agenda by inserting Muslims into every state legislature and passing pro-Muslim legislation such as banning pork chops and beer in my home state of Virginia. But otherwise, congratulations. Yours in Christ, Virgil. Very nice, very nice. Thank you. From a colleague, which is always nice. Let me say something about the Progressive States Network and about how important states are. Because the states are just ahead of the federal government. Part of it that actually some states have Democratic legislatures and Democratic governors, but some of them have Democratic legislatures and Republican governors. California, for example, is leading the way on carbon trading and on universal health care, like in Massachusetts, and in providing health care, like in Illinois, for all children. And it's just that so many great things are happening now, first in the states. And Keith was a state legislator, and as was John Tester. And he comes from that. And today, I happened to visit Keith, and on Capitol Hill. And he told me that he is authoring and sponsoring legislation on universal default. I said, what's that? And then he told me what it was, and it turned out to be something my wife was railing about 2 days ago. And it said, if you have a credit card, a number of credit cards, and you're behind on one, all the rest of the credit card companies can charge you the exorbitant interest. And my wife was just really incensed about it, and I thought, that's crazy. Does that really exist? She said, yeah. I went, really? And she said, yeah. And I saw Keith today. I said, what are you working on? He said, he sent me this thing. I went, good for you, man. Great. This is ridiculous. Get that done. And thank you. And what a left-wing crazy thing that is. Oh, normal Americans won't like that. My goodness. I mean, if it were up to the states to pass this, it'd be I think that 49 states would pass it except for Delaware. Anyway. But it's great that he's there. It's great that Keith is there. Keith did a prayer at the DFL inaugural a few months ago. We had some very big successes in the DFL, including Keith, and including Tim Walz, and including our state legislature going completely Democratic. The House turned to Democratic, and on the state Senate we built on our majority. Some great things happened. And so we had a very celebration. And Keith was chosen to give the prayer. And I was kind of surprised, because he took the parable of the loaves and fishes. And I'm thinking, like, Keith, New Testament? What, That didn't make sense to me, but then again it did, because I'm Jewish and I even know the loaves and fishes. And the way he ended was so moving to me. And it was about bounty. And it was about how there is enough. There is enough for everyone. And it's something that we lose sight of all the time in America. There's enough for everyone. There's enough for everyone to have universal health care. Yeah. You weren't going to do this parable, were you?
I moved on. I got another one.
You got another one?
Yeah.
I'm not gonna go through it, because I wouldn't be doing justice to it. But I have to tell you, Keith, that I was so moved that night and said, oh my goodness, this guy is so fantastic. Keith Ellison.
Now, in Minnesota, we get the privilege